Hey guys, how's it going? I hope everybody's doing really well out there today. I want to thank you guys for deciding to hang out with me for a couple of minutes while we talk about today's video topic, which is kind of a continuation of a couple of different topics that we've talked about in previous videos. We're going to talk about a couple of things really in this video. The first is the rack behind me. In a previous video, we talked about me kind of getting some of that cleaned up and consolidated and that sort of thing. Yesterday I spent some time getting that cleaned up and kind of reorganized mostly and a little cleaned up. We'll talk about that here in just a minute, but the other thing we're going to talk about in this video is kind of a continuation of something else we discussed, which was part of that consolidation, where I had mentioned during the consolidation that I spent a lot of time doing updates and that sort of thing, and that my life would be made immensely more simple if I were to use something like Ansible. So I started getting into Ansible a little bit this week, and I just want to give you a very high-level overview of kind of what I've currently got set up. I'm not going to go into much depth on it because I still don't understand it. I'm getting my feet wet. I'm getting it. I'm starting to understand a few little things here and there, but there are still some things that elude me, and hopefully over the next coming however long, I will start to understand it better. But yeah, let's kind of talk about first. Let's talk about my rack back there, some of the stuff I did back there to get that cleaned up, and then we'll come back and kind of take a look at some of the changes I've made on my actual Proxmox setup with some Ansible stuff and some of the supporting applications that I'm using to help facilitate some of that. So there was actually something that I forgot to mention. For the longest time, I've had this 2070 in my HL15 running as my transcoder for my Plex server, and then I wanted to start getting into some AI stuff and just kind of tinker around with some of that. That seems like a lot of fun. So I ordered a P2000 off of eBay, got a great deal on it, and then shut down everything on the HL15 so that I could, safely swap out or move the cards around. So let's take a look at my GPU debacle. Okay, so while everything is shutting down, I can come out here and I can do that, and I can remove this one screw I've got just holding this whole thing from sliding out on its own. Maybe, there we go. Now, oops, ooh, that was fun. It slid out of there a little bit, out from under it a little bit. Anyway, there we go. All right. So then I can remove these. So I forgot that there are some like retaining pins back there. All I got to do is push. That's the kind of day I'm having. I hope you guys are having a better day than that. Okay, so everything is off. We've got our top off of here, and of course the reason for that is because I got this. This is a Quadro. This is a P2000 with 5 gigs of RAM. And it's all done via DisplayPort. Not that any of this is going to matter, because effectively this Quadro is going to replace that 2070 that's in there. So my goal here is, because this has been running my Plex transcoding since I got it set up, and it's been great. The problem is that I want to start doing some AI stuff. So my initial thought was to get this, and I was going to do this for AI. And then luckily I'm surrounded by people smarter than me, and they're like, no, use the Quadro for Plex and the 2070 for AI. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to swap out, well, I'm not going to swap out anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this card. This is a 10 gig NIC. I'm going to move that down a slot to here. I apologize for the crap lighting. So this 10 gig card is going to get moved to here, and then this Quadro is going to go in that slot. No, it's not. Oh no. Oh no. Well, so that happened. So anyway, the card is out. I managed to break off the little retaining. Come on, focus. There we go. The little retaining clip thing on the GPU slot there. I got a little aggressive with that, but it turns out I don't have 2 slots for my GPU. So I guess I'm going to put that card in there for right now. just to make sure it works. I paid money for it. I should make sure it works. And then we're gonna have to come up with a different solution. Okay, so I've swapped out the GPU. The 2070 is over there for right now. That's another little video project I've got coming up soon, that water-cooled Pi. Anyway, so I've got that done. And then while I was here, before I powered this thing back on, I had a thought. I want to see, I'm going to close this or do that real quick. 285. So really, this is only pulling about 200 watts, which is actually better than I thought. I thought it was closer to like 250 or something. So anyway, I guess now we'll go into the IPMI, get this thing booted up, and see what happens. Make sure that we can still get our Plex transcoding to work.
A few moments later.
Okay, so with everything back up and running, I'm probably saving about 10 watts at idle anyway with switching out the P2000, or from switching from the 2070 to the Quadro P2000. So that's something anyway. So now I'm going to start going through and cleaning up some of this wiring back here and seeing if I can save maybe a little bit more just by unplugging. There we go. Just by unplugging some of the unnecessary power bricks and that sort of thing.
One eternity later.
Okay, so here we are. I have kind of cable managed everything. Both of these are 10 gigs that I just don't have a good pass-through mechanism for at this point. But that's what's going on there. Those cables just go down and around, and then either over to here or down to there or something. I don't know. But all my cable management here is better. Still not perfect, but better. And if we come around, like all of this bundle basically all the way down is data. This bundle basically all the way down is power. And everything, again, once you get down there, it kind of starts falling apart again. But there were just things I didn't feel like unplugging and rearranging at the moment. So that's a project for another day. But up here it looks pretty good. I'm actually pretty happy with that. I've still got this DS923. It's still dusty. Like, I dusted everything else, but I've actually got a video coming up with that later. So I didn't feel like putting a lot of effort into cleaning it at the moment. If we come around to the front, again, all of that much cleaner. And then, of course, I've still got to deal with everything down there that I took out of it. But, you know, the shelves have been dusted. I've got some fasteners there, but everything's looking better. So I'm super happy with how that looks. And of course, I've got the front on it, and I just got to put the side on. The back doesn't fit anymore. Oops, my finger's in the way there. The back doesn't. This piece right here is the back, but because of how deep the HL15 is, it just doesn't fit. So it is what it is, as they say. But overall, I'm super happy with how this turned out. So I spent a couple of hours yesterday doing all of kind of the tidying up and the cleaning and the dusting and that sort of thing. Of course, there are still some things that I should do at some point, like the bottom of the rack. That really still needs to be cable managed, but I don't know how much I care at this point, but maybe eventually I will get to that. And then, of course, as I mentioned, I think in that little segment that I still got the DS923 right there that I've got some hardware for that's actually on my couch back here. I feel really bad. Synology sent me some hardware to put in there weeks ago, and I haven't even cracked the box yet. So Synology, if you're watching this, I apologize. That video is coming very soon, I promise. So yeah, I spent a couple of hours kind of getting the rack behind me tidied up. I feel better about it. I saved, I don't know, like 10 watts by just unplugging some additional power bricks and that sort of thing that weren't actually being used for anything. But let's move on and let's talk about kind of my automation process, or my semi-automated process with my Proxmox server and the LXCs and the VMs and the containers that are inside of the LXCs and the VMs. So this is, if we take a look, this is my Proxmox server. This is the HL15. We can see that right there. Oh, you know what? I screwed that up. Okay, sorry. One of the biggest complaints I get on my older videos, besides talking too fast, I can't fix that, I've tried, watch my videos at a slower speed. Again, I apologize. That's all I can say. But one of the other complaints that I get is that oftentimes my videos the resolution on my screens is too high and makes it hard to read. So, I switched back over from 4K to 1080p. I just reinstalled Windows on this machine last night, and I hadn't done that yet. So, here we are. This is my HL15 with Proxmox VE 8.2.4, which I guess is the most current version. Anyway, all of this, if you saw my previous video about the migration and whatnot, all of this should look very similar. You know, I've got my Proxmox LXCs and then some VMs, but this week I added Ansible Semaphore and Ansible support. Semaphore is just a UI for Ansible, and that's the only reason I'm even using Ansible, because I like to have a UI when I'm learning things. It's just how I work. I'm not going to teach you Ansible. I'm just not. I'm not that guy. If you want really good Ansible content, whether it's written or video or whatever, Jeff Geerling is the dude for that. He's actually written a couple of books. If you want to learn Ansible, check out his resources. I will try to have links or something in the video description for that. But Semaphore, like I mentioned, is... Semaphore is a graphical user interface, or a GUI for Ansible. Semaphore is great. It's really kind of helped me get my head wrapped around how certain things work. One of the things that I initially learned about Semaphore, because it doesn't make sense at first, is that when you're setting this up, when you're going through and getting all of your stuff configured, you start at the bottom of the menu and then you work your way up to the top, and then you can eventually deploy. You can schedule things. You can look at your task templates. All of that is, like I said, you work from the bottom up to do your setup, because the stuff at the bottom is the stuff you're least likely going to use or be accessing the most in the future, right? You're going to access it the least. Is probably the better way to say that. So you start with your team. Who's on your team? It's just me. So just me. Integrations, I don't have any idea what's going on here. You can add new integrations, but I don't actually know what that does. I haven't gotten that far. Repositories, basically this is, well, it's just like it says, GitHub. These are, so Nighthawk ATL is one of my Discord mods, and he's very much into Ansible. And so he has got this whole GitHub repository of playbooks. I think that's where we are there. And he's got some Portainer templates, but playbooks, this is kind of where I got my templates. And then once I kind of figured out what I was doing, then I set up my own basically GitHub repository that's self-hosted. We'll take a very brief look at that in a moment. But these are the repositories where my playbooks are being accessed from. So that was super helpful. So anyway, next we've got a key store. Basically, this is credentials for your different systems, whether it's an LXC or a VM or even dedicated hardware or whatever. Your key store is just your credentials, so that you can have a set of credentials and just pull them in as you need them when you're building out your inventory, your scheduling, your tasks, all of that kind of stuff. Your key store is just right here. Makes it super simple. Certain things allow you to do SSH. I had an issue with a couple of VMs not working with SSH, so I just was able to use a username and password, and that was super, super handy. So that's the key store. The environment here, still again not super. Like you need an all or an empty. I don't remember which one I had to set up, but I've got that set up for when I'm building stuff out. Inventory. This is basically. I've got my LXC inventory and I've got my VM inventory, and then I've got this, and this is what we saw earlier with that like 200 tasks that failed. It wasn't the inventory's issue, it was the playbook issue. I screwed up my playbook. But if you come in and you can take a look, and here you can see all of your inventory. So anytime I pull up the HL15 LXC's inventory, it's going to do whatever task on all of these different IP addresses. And I think that's cool. Again, makes things super, super simple for being able to deploy a command or a series of commands on multiple devices simultaneously via the IP address. So really, really stoked about that. And then we've got scheduling. I feel like these, I know why these are out of order, depending on which way you're looking at it. But basically what you can do next would be go to like task templates, and then you can click right here, and then you can edit. Let's do that. So this playbook would be, the name of it is obviously a name of update my LXCs. Now this is just going to update the LXC operating system. I don't have anything set up through Ansible or Semaphore or whatever to update my containers. I don't want to go that route yet. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But the playbook file name that we're using is this update apt YAML file, which I'm not going to show you mine, but basically it's this one right here. And I don't understand all of this yet. Like, I understand very little of this, if I'm being honest. But basically up at the top, it's like saying, hey, we're going to do all these hosts. We've got some variables here. And this is setting up Godify to give us notifications about our setup, or about what happened during the playbook run. And then we've got some tasks. And then there's some cleanup, and then there's the actual notification with some variables in there. So that's basically what goes into a playbook. But again, I'm still very much learning this, so I don't want to say anything that's going to make me sound any dumber than I already do most of the time. So we've got that, and then our inventory. Again, we talked about that. We're gonna run this file against whatever inventory we choose. We're also going to choose our repository again, whether it's my self-hosted or that GitHub repository. Then our environment will be all vault password. If you wanted to do that, you could. But that's basically the playbook that's going to run, and that's how this template Ansible playbook is set up. Again, I'm still very much learning this. I've probably screwed something up. There's a lot of you guys out there using Ansible that are like pounding on your desk or your keyboard or something, saying you're an idiot. Why did you do it that way? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm working. I'm trying. I promise. But once you've got your task templates set up the way you want them, then you can come into your schedule and you can decide when these are going to run. This update LXCs rather is set to run at 5 o'clock on Saturday morning there. If I open this up, we can see that update LXCs, that's the template. For some reason, there's a GUI error here. I know this is set to run on Saturday, but that box just doesn't stay ticked. I could probably come in here to the cron and do it that way. But again, I hate cron. I know it works. I know how to use it. I want to see it. I don't want to have to think about it. I just want to see it. So that's why I've got it set up that way. And here we can see it's going to run again in 7 days. And then the same one for this update VMs. That template also is just to update my operating systems, not any of the Docker stuff, not any of the applications running on either the VMs or the LXCs. But again, same thing. This one's set to run on Sunday at 5 o'clock in the morning. This is going to run in 20 hours. So that's what's going on there. And that's kind of all the farther I've gotten with Ansible and Semaphore. Again, this is still very much a new process to me that I'm just trying to get the hang of at this point. So that's how I'm automating the updating of my operating systems. At some point, I also would like to update Proxmox itself. I tried that, it failed. I discovered that this morning. So that's that part. The other thing that I'm doing, if we come back over here, that was LXC 1001. That's Ansible and Semaphore. I've also got Ansible support running on a separate LXC container. And if I jump over to here, this is all of the stuff that's currently running on that LXC container. Cloudflared, that's just so I can have remote access to Godify so that I can get notifications when I'm away from home. And again, if we take a look at this, okay, so this is all up and running. So basically, I'm getting updates for several different things here. In fact, I need to take a couple of these out. I was just testing some stuff out. But so I've got Ansible and Semaphore. When those playbooks run, I get notifications. In fact, we can see I got notifications 5 hours ago saying, "Hey, this playbook completed for this IP address, and we don't need to do a reboot." I need to change the way I get notifications on this so I don't have to cross-reference my IPs here. But it went through and it ran everything, and it was like, "Hey, all of your updates are done. You're good to go. Nothing needed a reboot." And I've also got Uptime Kuma here. Again, same thing. There was an update or something happened yesterday, or no, I unplugged when that's what it was when I was doing this. For some reason, only one. In fact, it was Uptime Kuma. It was like, "Hey, I lost my connection for just 5 seconds or something." So that's all that was. Watchtower. This one I ran into a bit of a kerfuffle with. Like you'll see that like some of these are 2 hours ago, some of these are 5 hours ago. And that's because when I set up Watchtower on some of my LXCs to give me the notifications, I didn't put the update unless stopped variable in there. So some of them just didn't come back up because they were told not to. So I went through and realized that this morning after some of my stuff updated and some of my stuff didn't. So anyway, all of that's fixed. I'm getting updates there. I'm getting notification when Watchtower runs to tell me whether or not there are updates available. And what I've started doing with that, just to help simplify my life, is when I get a notification, like all of this is clean. I just did updates the other day. I did it Thursday, I think. Anyway, so let's say this was like, "Hey, there was an update available for Godify on your Ansible support," right? What I would then do is come over to here. I would come into here. I would update the container, the stack, the whatever. I would make sure everything was up to date. And then I would come in here and just delete that notification so that it's not here. I use this as not only a notification, but a to-do list. And once I do the to-do list, every time I complete a task, I delete it. And that's just kind of a way that I have made sure that I'm doing the tasks I need to do. There's probably a better way to do it, but this works for me. So this is what I'm going to do. So that's what's going on here. This is my Godify setup. Again, we talked about that in a previous video as well. A Watchtower, we talked about that a little bit in the previous video, setting up Godify so that when there's an update, or Watchtower will check like once a day or once a week or whatever you decide to do. If there's an update, it will tell Godify, "Hey, send a notification." We talked about that in a previous video. What we didn't talk about in a previous video, though, is, well, we've talked about Git in a previous video a long time ago. But basically, this is my Git instance. This is a self-hosted GitHub repository. I'll get signed in. And here we can see, oops, there we go. And here we can see kind of all of the different changes that I've been making to my different playbooks and different things in there. If I come in, let's just look at my profile. Can I just go in there? Darn it, let me get my profile. There we go. Here we go. So I've got 3 repositories, right? I've got a Docker Compose for Godify and Watchtower. I'm not going to open those because they might actually have sensitive information in them. So those are there. If I need them for later, I can just come in here and grab them and deploy them wherever I need to. I've got some notes. So like adding Semaphore. I'll show this, but I'm gonna have to blur. I'm gonna have to blur a line in there. But basically, you know, like I'm giving myself instructions on the steps to take, and then where to add an SSH key so that Semaphore can talk to that LXC or that VM or whatever. I've got the IP addresses of all of my LXCs and VMs, and then just more instructions. I've got like a single command line I can run, or I can break it up and do what I need to do there, just because I wanted to have as much information in there as possible. That's that. And then Ansible playbooks. I've got a couple of them in there, but I'm not going to show you those because they actually do have sensitive information in them. But they're just modified versions of what are available for these templates that Nighthawk ATL has on his GitHub repository. So that has been my week with kind of literally cleaning up the rack a couple of different ways. but also helping me to automate some of the processes for making sure that my systems stay more up to date. All of that has kind of consumed my week, but I feel good about it. And hopefully you guys enjoyed kind of going through this process with me today. I guess really that's all I wanted to talk about. I know this video has been long, but I had a lot to talk about. So hopefully you made it this far into the video. If you did, thank you. I really do appreciate that. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy these kind of update style, almost vlogs, definitely let me know by liking and subscribing. Maybe leave me a comment to give me your thoughts on what I know I screwed up and what you obviously know I screwed up and that I didn't know I screwed up. Let me know all of that in the comment section down below. Again, I'll try to have links to resources and stuff in the video description. But I guess with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, thank you guys so much for spending a few minutes of your day with me today, and I'll talk to you in the next video.